Happy Sunday morning, everybody. This is Bill with WWP Reacts, and today is a day, one of those days in history that we should never forget. And so I wanted to talk a little bit and give a little tribute to December 7th, 1941, and looking at, X here and just go through some of the things and maybe reflect on what happened that Sunday. It was a Sunday as well. The assault on December 7th sank or damaged 19 ships, including 8 battleships, destroyed 188 aircraft, wounded 1,748 service members. President Roosevelt declared the day that would live in infamy. I remember seeing those videos when I was in school of him talking on that day. Although I wasn't in school then, I mean later on I didn't go. It wasn't elementary school till the mid '60s. Propelling the U.S. into World War II, today's ceremonies at Pearl Harbor National Museum honor the fallen with only 12 survivors left of the 100 are unable to attend. Tributes highlight personal stories like the Arizona's enduring memorial of 1,177 lost souls still buried in the Arizona. I had the opportunity in 2017 to be working on a project with Department of War, or DoD back then, with a program, the POW accountability group, and they had a laboratory, an anthropological laboratory, which dug up the remains of not the ones in the Arizona, but many service members were dumped in a major grave in Hawaii after this event in 1941. And so, because they didn't have DNA and because they were so whatever, they just buried them all in a grave. Okay. So, since that time, the last 20 years, since we can use DNA to identify people, service members, they've been digging up this grave and pulling out bones, right, and aligning these bones on tables in this laboratory and using laboratory information management system software, which is what I was installing, and using DNA technology, the DNA of survivors, like surviving families who hadn't, their loved ones had not been shared back with them, to identify these service members. It was um, quite a humbling experience to look at a gymnasium laboratory, like so a big room. Imagine the size of a field house with slabs on it, metal slabs with bones in each one, representing a human. So they dig up a bone and they would use analysis, length of the bone, thickness, blah blah blah, right? And then DNA technology would identify the DNA of each bone and line them up to that single individual person. It was probably the most humbling experience of my life in 2017. I'd served in uniform for 34 years before that time, and now I was into my fourth year of doing federal contract there. I was working for a company called LabAnswer, which later became part of Accenture, and we were providing them a laboratory information management system software to help them manage identifying these bones, identifying things and keeping track of things in a better way. Anyhow, that was my story of December 7th. The closest I came to it was looking at the remains of these fallen soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors, um, on these metal slabs. Uh, yeah, it's still touching to this day. But let's listen to Tim Burchett here talk about his tribute to December 7th.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. Remind everybody, today is December 7th. December 7th, 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and around 1,700 Americans lost their lives. It changed this country forever. It changed my family forever. My daddy was just about an 18-year-old kid, young man, I guess you'd say, in Clarksville, Tennessee. He said he heard it on the radio. They didn't even know where Pearl Harbor was. They thought they knew it from National Geographic or something. But anyway,
Tennessee. Hmm. Why is
They,
it? Okay, there we go.
like Daddy, like thousands of other Americans enlisted to fight, went in the Marine Corps, and Mama lost her brother in Europe, and changed our family, and it changed this country forever. This freedom we're having that you have this morning, you can go to church, you can
His dad is 18 years old and enlisted. Hmm.
stay in bed, you have to go to work, whatever. It is not free, and somebody paid the ultimate sacrifice for that. So remember that. Say a prayer for the fighting men and women who are off some foreign land for our country right now, and pray for our country. But do not forget about those men that died that day. So it was a serious deal. It's not just something in some black and white pictures in some history book. It's probably not even taught in most public schools
Right,
now.
exactly. That's the sad part.
We need to get back to the basics.
That's the sad part. A lot of public schools don't even teach about Pearl Harbor. It's a footnote in history, and that's it. Don't get into the details. The details that I just shared you, that are public knowledge. Anyways.
Folks. And God has given us an incredible gift. Let's not blow it.
That's
Thank
right.
y'all.
Let's not blow
it.
Yeah, so let's go see. So here's the Department of War. We will never forget. 84 years ago, our country was attacked. Response from our greatest generation solidified America as a superpower. Our victory in World War II honors the service members lost during this tragic event. And if you haven't been out to Pearl Harbor and got to go out to take they have a ferry that goes out to and looks at all the remains of the ships and stuff. Um, you should definitely do it. I mean, there's things when you're standing above the Arizona, there's still like gases coming up from the ground. It's crazy. Anyways, okay, let's see what else is here. The president, exceptional courage. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so there's the Arlington, the Arizona, right? With the this is where you could come out. The landing craft brings you out to here, and then or the ferry, whatever you want to call it. Then you go in here, and there's a whole tribute. It's amazing. If you drive around Pearl Harbor, the base, right, Hickam Air Force Base and Pearl Harbor, you can still see bullet holes in some of the walls of the buildings on the base, not over near the water, but on the base, like the admin part of the base. It's a stark reminder of being here, right? Of being attacked on our land. John Kennedy, a great leader from Louisiana. On this day, 84 years ago, America faced life and answered with fearless courage. Ordinary Americans showed extraordinary courage, and their sacrifice preserved the freedom we still treasure today. We will never forget the heroes of Pearl Harbor and honor of generations.
The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, forcing the United States into World War II. The U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet and support facilities were the main targets and suffered the most casualties and damage. But several U.S. Army installations were also targets, such as Schofield Barracks, Wheeler, and Hickam Army airfields. Most of the Army Air Force's planes were destroyed on the ground, but some planes got into the air and scored 4 confirmed and 2 probable kills, with the loss of 1 plane. The Coast Artillery Corps had mixed results, claiming 2 enemy planes. The 24th and 25th Infantry Divisions began to deploy by 0900. By late afternoon, all divisional elements were digging in to fend off a possible amphibious assault. This day...
So that's the part that's never talked about. They never talk about the 24th and 25th Infantry divisions or regiments. I forget what he said. But digging in, because we didn't know it was going to happen. We didn't know if there was going to be an amphibious assault after that. Because normally that's what would happen, right? You attack by air, and then like we did in Iwo Jima and other places, right? We attack, and then we did an amphibious assault like we did at D-Day. Interesting following this stuff up. 4:31 on Sunday. again, the Arizona. This would be interesting to see.
Roosevelt said will live in infamy. A day that marks the deadliest attack against our Navy. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor 84 years ago. An American tragedy that began taking shape weeks earlier when the Imperial Japanese Navy secretly maneuvered a 28-ship task force built around 6 aircraft carriers with over 400 aircraft to the waters northwest of Hawaii. The Japanese then launched 353 aircraft with 2 waves of airstrikes against U.S. installations on Oahu. The main target was the Pacific Fleet, but luckily none of the U.S. carriers were in port that night. But attacks against the fleet and airfields caused massive casualties. 2,403 American military and civilians were killed, of whom 2,008 were Navy and 109 Marines. 25 Navy ships were sunk or suffered damage. Of those, only 3 were total losses. The rest later repaired and returned to service. Aircraft losses across the Navy, Marine Corps, and Army Air Force totaled 169 destroyed and 159 damaged. Over the next 6 months, U.S. forces launched a variety of small attacks against advancing Japanese forces, including the Halsey Doolittle raid against Japan. Then, in May 1942, the Navy stopped Japanese forces in the South Pacific at Coral Sea, and in June sank 4 Japanese carriers at the Battle of Midway, all of which served as part of the attack force at Pearl Harbor. With that victory, the U.S. held the initiative, and through the next 6 months, shifted the balance of power in the Pacific. Once American sea power was fully mobilized, it proved decisive. Today, as we reflect upon a moment in time of our nation's history, one of the hardest truths is that behind every number is a name, a real American.
See, those are the ones I'm talking about, where we dug them up and started identifying them. The POWMIA Accountability Agency. I was trying to think of the word. POWMIA Accountability Agency. Look them up. Google them. There's some great reading about these service members that they've identified. And they don't just serve the Pacific Fleet, but they also have laboratory in Omaha at what's that Air Force base? I can't think of the Air Force base name there, but they have another laboratory there that looks at remains from the European theater. Navy pilots, Air Force pilots that went down, and were never claimed. And some farmer in Belgium or something finds this relic of a plane or something, or remains of a human, and then calls the consulate, United States consulate. They come and dig it up. They do an archaeological dig, very gentle, and bring those remains home. And then the POWMIA Accountability Agency tries to identify those remains for the loved ones who were never brought together with their loved ones.
And who stepped forward when their nation called, and too often paid the ultimate price, and left behind loved ones who mourned the unwritten chapters of their lives. Today's sailors and Marines continue to stand the watch, answer the call, and are prepared to give no less. As your Secretary of the Navy, I will never take that for granted. As we mark this solemn anniversary, remember the heroes of Pearl Harbor. Their courage, grit, and determination are not relics of the past. They live in you. Wherever you serve today, deployed overseas, on duty, in the field, or at home with your family, pause, remember Pearl Harbor, and carry that legacy forward. God bless the United States of America and the Navy and Marine Corps team that defends her.
And yes, God bless America. And don't ever forget December 7th, 1941, which I think a lot of Americans have forgotten about. And of course, 9/11, which I think a whole new generation of kids, people born after that date, are forgetting already. And it's only been 25 years. 24 years, I guess 25 years next year. Anyhow, because that changed my life forever. And my family's, including my son, who is now a first sergeant in the United States Army, having served 18 years and 11 deployments overseas. So, with that, I'm going to beg you a great day, a great Sunday. I know we got football this afternoon. There's all kinds of great things that we do, but take a moment to reflect of the 2,241 men and others, including some women, nurses, etc., civilians that were killed that day in a faraway place called Pearl Harbor. And if you ever get the chance, please go and see it. Take your family. Maybe instead of going to Disney World, go to Pearl Harbor. Your children will learn a lot. Your grandchildren will learn a lot. Thank you and have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bill at WWP Reacts signing off.